Hey there friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today we got some brand new Borderlands 4 content to check out as an embargo lifted and a bunch of outlets including IGN got a sneak peek at the game and gave some first impressions, which from what I've seen so far are very promising. Now there's more content to come as we do have Borderlands Fan Fest coming up this weekend where other content creators will also be live streaming and creating content for the game as well. So if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe stay off the internet this weekend. But if you are like me and want to see exactly what Borderlands 4 has in store for us, stay tuned. I'm going to react to this IGN video first and then also have some other videos on Borderlands 4 over the next few days going over everything that we learned. So definitely stay tuned to that. Anyway, time to check out the video and see what they have to say today.
Gunplay, an innumerable quantity of badass
Horus.
loot, and some of the most crafty
flying boss, they're so annoying when they're small like that.
Held a special place in my heart since way back in 2009. But it's
you just one shot that? Okay, sick. Ooh, we got dinos.
Then saw itself fall behind the curve as a renaissance.
Yeah, that gun doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot of damage. I'm not sure if I'll use that.
The space. With Borderlands 4, the team at Gearbox seems
that gun is better. Yeah, here we go.
In hope of reclaiming the throne.
It looks like throwing knives from Destiny, only it's a syringe. That's hilarious.
Greatly improved shooting mechanics, an interesting revamp to RPG mechanics, an entirely fresh setting.
I'm gonna pause whenever something good pops up.
More grounded tone in its story. The handful of
the advances to the RPG mechanics are what I'm most excited about this game. I feel like build crafting is going to be better than any other Borderlands game. We also have the mixing of the various manufacturers for the weapons, again, which should adjust the build crafting quite a bit. Open world with better movement, which is also something that I'm in favor of, and then the repeatable bosses that you can just load up and farm at any time with dedicated drops. All of that is what I'm really looking forward to with this game, and why I am very confident this game is going to be good, especially if they get the story right, which is going to be a big question mark for sure after Borderlands 3.
Hours I played left me fairly confident that I will find myself pulled back into this wonderful
being confident is good
of psychopaths. And
it looks a lot darker as a theme. Claptrap. Some of these guns look lit.
There's a whole heck of a lot of
map looks
things
very big.
Tries. But
gliding looks sick.
Immediately jumped out at me was the focus on movement. I counted no fewer than 5 additional ways to keep your Vault Hunter in motion while hunting for treasure and blasting wild animals, including double jumping, gliding through the air, dashing from side to side, pulling yourself around with a grab.
Yeah, the movement tech's gonna be insane compared to what we've seen before. Oh, swimming sounds huge.
My toes got wet. Was pretty
annoying. Yeah, dying to water was always a travesty.
These traversal options added an
this dual blade character looks very fun, by the way.
Sniping mercenaries and lobbing explosives
little scythe blades.
Of the local fauna, and also went a long way to speeding up how quickly I could close distance between me.
I'm excited to see the Vault Hunters kits for sure. I
always found myself pretty frustrated by how slowly I move in old Borderlands entries.
That's fair enough. Yeah, going back to the Borderlands games, you can definitely notice how slow they play.
To get around. It's that there are so many of them, I often forgot to use them.
I'm not going to have that problem. I'm used to like Destiny and other movement type games, so this one's probably not going to be anything too crazy for me. I've also been playing Doom, the Dark Ages, which has some pretty insane movement too.
Better about my ability to keep myself in motion while bringing my arsenal to bear upon swarms of monsters. But it definitely feels like it'll take some getting used to.
Ooh, yes, that was sick.
It wouldn't be a Borderlands game without the promise of a bottomless
show me the guns.
Each designed to inject a little anarchy into combat. While I only got a small sampling of what's in store, there honestly weren't a ton of things I wasn't expecting, even with the additional weapon manufacturers introducing some new stuff.
Tired of losing battles because of lag in Call of Duty?
One of the new gunmaker's Ripper seemed to have a lot
Okay, that
in
gun
common
looks fun.
with the COV weapons from Borderlands 3, as they need to spin up before they can be fired, but then pile on a heaping helping of lead into enemies.
If you get like a
While
super fast
Deadlights
reload speed on that
reminded
one,
me a lot
it'd be
of the
very
dull
sick.
weapons that offer multiple ammo types to switch between.
That was
The only
melting them.
distinct new type I got to try
A
out was
gravity
called
well,
the
charge
Order,
fire, a
which had
gravity
an
well that deals up to
alternate firing
169
mode.
damage
Like a pistol I found
before
that
pulling in
fired
enemies,
gravity
dealing
wells instead of shooting
additional
down
damage over
bullets.
time and
Most of
regens
what I
ammo.
played was
Okay.
from pretty early
Yeah,
in
some of
the
that stuff
campaign,
sounds very
and
sick.
I only found a single legendary weapon during my
Ooh,
travels.
only one
So it's
legendary?
very
Yeah,
likely there
you
were
just
more
that's just a
surprises I
taste of the
hadn't seen,
weapons
but at least on
that
the
we're gonna
surface,
see.
I wasn't too shocked with what I found in that regard. What seems significantly more distinct are the new build crafting options.
Yes, this is what I'm here
including
for.
a healing item called a rep kit that can be used
Oh,
in addition
that's sick.
to the usual
So you can
pickups
heal
from chests
through
and
multiple
pick
ways
off
now.
the sorry corpses of your slain
Interesting.
foes. These add an interesting dimension to defining
Ooh,
your build,
they have
as
perks
you can't
too?
just play it safe and
Yeah,
pick
you
the
can make
item
some
that offers the
insane
most healing with
combos
the
with that, I would
shortest
imagine.
cooldown. But bolder vault hunters might instead favor one that intentionally offers lesser healing benefits.
Yeah, that's
to
gonna be the
instead
go-to
grant
for
some
boss
other
melts.
effect every time the item is used. For example, I found one that caused a large explosion of cryo to explode around me.
Yeah, having
whenever I used
cryo
it,
on
versus
command
another
when
that
you use
restored
one of the
significantly
syringes
more
would be
health
sick.
and could be used twice before it needed to be cooled down. Depending on how risky you want to play it or the specific strategy behind your build, I could see this opening up a lot of doors for clever min-maxers to do some pretty fun stuff. Each Borderlands has a different roster of Vault Hunters to play,
Ooh.
and this entry
Skill
is no
trees. I know.
different.
I saw
to try out
some videos breaking down some of these skill trees, and Vex with her minions looks awesome. The winged Vex looks pretty sick as well. But I'm probably gonna be like a summoner character, whereas some of the other characters, I like the Viking dude with the dual axes, but we don't get. They weren't able to preview him with some of these videos yet, so we won't see more of him until a bit later.
Vex, the magical siren whose main focus, at least with my setup, was in summoning NPC companions
Yeah,
to
give
help
me
me
the
fight
summons.
off mobs. And Rafa, a soldier who had a bunch of high-tech gadgets to unload onto anyone stupid enough to get in his way.
I wonder if you could
including
do
some
like a real
blades
melee build
that
with
made
that.
short work
The-
of anyone within arm's reach, or some
laser knives.
shoulder-mounted cannons that automatically helped me lather folks in lead.
Yeah, the shoulder cannons. That's what I would rock.
It's always hard to tell just how awesome each of these bona fide badasses is going to be after just a few hours.
Yeah.
But I was already
You need the
very
full
much
builds.
heartened by the number of interesting options.
Like,
to
these
pick
abilities
from.
are very
And I
sick.
already felt
This one
myself
looks like a Tiny
transforming
Tina's
into an
Wonderlands,
arm to the teeth instrument of death. Even as low-leveled as I
ability.
was. Also, some of the perks I saw on those trees looked downright
Yeah,
spicy.
the
Like
max
the ability to disconnect Rafa's shoulder-mounted
perks.
turrets to convert them into a stationary battle station. So consider me pretty hyped to try out a late-game build.
Peacekeeper cannons. Yeah, that's super dope.
Another interesting change coming with Borderlands 4 is the new, clearly darker setting and story
I
taking
love
place on a new
that.
world called
The
Kairos,
tone of Borderlands 3 is the
dominated
only
by
thing
an
that really
impressive,
held it back,
immortal
in my
being
opinion.
known as the Timekeeper,
The
who controls
antagonists were not
using
good.
cybernetic implants. But naturally, the actions of the Vault Keepers in recent Borderlands entries, which I won't spoil here, has ruined the perfect, unjust order on Kairos, throwing the place into chaos and opening the door for you
We
and your
love chaos.
friends
Hopefully,
to shoot
okay.
everything in the face.
So I hope that we see in this game, similar to how Destiny will have it, where at times you'll have the two different factions, two different enemy types clashing on the battlefield. I hope we see that in this game, and like it's maybe not a massive battle, but big enough to make it like look awesome.
Score some sweet loot.
Yes,
the
give me the
change in tone
legendaries.
is pretty clear, and even though you've still got the usual cheeky characters, sexual innuendos, and over-the-top gore, there's also quite a bit of darkness and the beginnings of what seems to be a significantly more grounded story in play.
Yeah,
which
I
will
like that a
hopefully
lot. I
wash
think
away
it could
some of
really take
shallowness found in Borderlands 3,
franchise forward.
specifically where the antagonists are concerned.
We'll see who's laughing when I unleash my secret weapon.
It's also worth noting the intentional shift away from Pandora to focus on this new world.
I'm ready as as I'll ever be.
This, combined with the fact that a lot of the cast is entirely new, at least in the sections I played, makes things feel a bit like a soft reboot that gives a fresh start to
developers have talked about this feeling
games that have mostly
like the perfect place for new players to jump into Borderlands 4, but still making it so old returning Borderlands players enjoy it as well. And I think that's a difficult thing to do, but refreshing the story with like some links to the past, I think is a perfect way to go with this game.
Leaned pretty heavily on the locations and characters established in their predecessors.
Oof.
I'm all for this shift, honestly.
Yeah,
because
I'm
although
a fan.
Borderlands was my addiction for years, it's also pretty clearly been on its back foot as a series, as the looter-shooter space has both evolved and become more crowded.
I agree.
Especially where its ongoing live service peers are concerned. To be
Lots
clear,
of competition.
I don't want to see Borderlands chase the games as a service model and fundamentally change what it is, but it's nice to see that Gearbox seems willing to take some sizable risks in pursuit.
So that's one thing that I've said. I don't ever want Borderlands to become like a live service MMO type shooter, but I did want more risk taking than they did in Borderlands 3, and I hope this game will have some of that, because I feel like that's the only way you're going to be able to push the genre as well as this franchise forward.
Of evolving the series, because I genuinely think it needs to do so if it wants to keep the attention of longtime fans.
Okay,
like
so you can summon multiple different types of
good
creatures. That's sick.
Old-fashioned goodness inside Borderlands 4. Quite the opposite. I still spent ludicrous amounts of time dabbing on loads of enemies who shouted expletives at me after running out of darkened spawn points, watched colorful loot explode out of enemies like fireworks, and ran dog-like enemies over with my vehicle.
Yo, the vehicle is sick.
Very awesomely,
it looks exactly like a
map, rather than having to be
Sparrow from Destiny. And you can summon it anytime, just like in Destiny. Absolutely necessary for an open world game, by the way.
Badass bosses to take down in the name of loot, XP, and bragging rights, which I unfortunately can't show you today because of some unfortunate restrictions on what I'm allowed to showcase at this time. But I can say that the one boss I fought a number of times is perhaps the most mechanics-heavy and interesting enemy.
Not everyone's gonna like that. So
and if it's at all
he said that the boss is super mechanics heavy. There are some people who are gonna hate that. As someone who does enjoy Destiny raids and dungeons and stuff like that, I do want some bosses like that, but I also want some bosses to be meltable. So a nice mix of that, I think, would be good. Some would be easier to farm, some would be require a bit more setup, and I think that's the balance that Borderlands would need, especially depending on how you plan on farming, what type of character you're using. Having certain bosses be easier for certain characters, certain weapons, certain builds, I think would make a lot of sense too.
All representative of the level of quality we can expect from Borderlands 4, then we're in for quite a treat. After several hours dipping my toes into what is sure to be a massive looter shooter,
I like the enemy variety too.
Borderlands 4's odds of recapturing my affections after years apart. Stay tuned in the coming days.
All right,
when I'm
that's I think pretty much all he has to say. Final thoughts for me. I'm gonna have a lot more coverage of Borderlands 4 over the next few days. I'm really excited about the game. Everything we've seen from these previews, in my opinion, is a positive thing. The one downside that I've seen people talk about is the compass up top of the screen instead of having like a traditional mini map, and a lot of people are frustrated by that because it's hard to find where enemies are coming from at times. That's the one of the minor quibbles. Just keep in mind that pretty much everyone who played the game over the last few days, whatever, who's releasing content today and who will be at the Fan Fest are people who are pretty big into the Borderlands franchise. So they're going to have some maybe rose-colored glasses a little bit. But I will say that's also exciting because those are the people that are going to be the most hyped about the game. They're the perfect ones to show up. So I'll be very curious to see what they think. Let me know what you guys feel about the game so far. I'm a day one Borderlands fan, day one Borderlands 4 player. That's not a question to me, but I'd be very curious what everyone else thinks. Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video, as always, comment, subscribe. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.